afternoon, or good evening, whatever the appropriate time zone is for you. Um, I'm the JA there, and today, or in this session, I should say, we're going to do some studying of cybersecurity. I need to get me a bottle of water, and I will be right back. We are studying from the compTIA study guide resource book, going over the answers at the end, provided we finish the lesson. But let's get ready to get started here. I need to grab something from downstairs really quick. And I will be right back. Hopefully that isn't too loud. I think it is. It's a pretty good day today. I had to work today, but it wasn't a bad day at work. It actually was a pretty good day, productive day as well. Let me Hey man, what's going on? Hey man, what's going on? How you doing? Oh yeah, this is something else I'm working on. For this one, I have a deadline of the end of this year to get this done. So I do some studying on my own, but I'm gonna start streaming all the time that I study so I can manage it and keep track of it and reference it, blah blah blah. But yeah, this is something else that I do, man. How you been? I been MIA a few days, but I am back now. I'll be back then on for at least a few hours every day going forward. What's been going on in your world? Threats, vulnerabilities, mitigations. Start working. Computers in my Earths. Go ahead and create a doc. Threat actors and motivations. Man, been pretty good, man. I have been pretty good as well. No complaints. Some busy days at work. A little busy with the kiddos, but that's about it. Threat actors and motivations. When you first start working with computers and networks, it is easy to think of security as a set of checklists and tools. Install antivirus threats, patches, require strong passwords, lock the server room. Yep, all of those are true. Underneath all of that, though, security is really about people. Every security control you implement is ultimately a response to someone who might want to misuse systems or data. Absolutely true. In security language, that someone is called a threat actor. Any person or group that intentionally causes or attempts to cause harm to systems or data. Systems, data, or users. Threat actor. I wonder if that is a difference, if there's a difference between that and an attacker. The first I've heard of that term. Seeing security through this human lens is especially important for an entry-level IT support role. You are often the first person to see odd error messages, user complaints, strained network behavior, or unusual activity. If you treat everything as just a glitch, you can easily miss early signs that a real attacker is involved. That's very, very true. Never underestimate anything. On the other hand, you are not expected to be a detective or digital forensic expert. What you are expected to do, both on the job and on the exam, is to recognize patterns, understand when something looks like deliberate malicious activity, and know when how to escalate the issue using organization procedures. Able to identify and escalate activity. That's pretty simplistic. A useful way to think about threat actors is to ask three simple questions. How to think of threat actors. Why are they doing this? How capable are they? Where are they in relation to the organ? So, a useful way to think about threat actors is to ask three simple questions. Why are they doing this? How capable are they? And where are they in relation to the organization? The motivation question is about why. Are they after money, political impact, sensitive secrets, bragging rights, or revenge? The capability question is about how strong or sophisticated they are. Are they using simple tools anyone can download, or are they building custom malware planning long-term attacks? Stuff is not working properly. The opportunity or access question asks whether they are outside your organization trying to break in or already inside with legitimate accounts and physical access. Most exam scenarios will give you enough hints along these lines to infer what type of actor you are dealing with, even if the question never uses the phrase threat actor explicitly. So, pointing out that your ability to identify and quickly dissect the threat actor goes a long way in our capability as a cybersecurity analyst. A memorable way to organize the main motives is to think of the word fire IP. The F stands for financial gain, the classic motive of organized criminals. I represents ideological motives, the driving force behind hacktivism. R reminds you of revenge or personal grievance, which often shows up in malicious insiders. E points to espionage, a national interest typical for nation state actors. The second I is immaturity or curiosity. I'm bored. Let's see what I can break, which you see with low skill actors, often called script kiddies. Finally, P reminds you of policy violations and negligence, the non malicious insider activity that can still create serious risks. When you look at a scenario, you can usually start by asking which of these motives fits best and then match the description to a threat actor type. Okay, wow. Didn't know that all of this exists. So certainly need to know and understand the term fire IP. The first F stands for financial gain. The classic motive of organized criminals. I represent ideological motives, the driving force behind hackticism. Never heard of that term before. Hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I do want to look that up. Let's see what this is. Just come here, go to Google. A hacktivist is a person who uses computer hacking skills to break into websites or computer systems. They do this to support political cause, social change, or free speech. Unlike regular hackers who steal money, hacktivism want to send a message or protest. Oh, okay. So these are folks that hack for a cause, not just for personal fun or personal use. Got it. R reminds you of revenge or personal grievance, which often shows up in malicious insiders. Okay. E points to espionage and national interest, typical for nation state actors. Okay. I've never heard of that term either. The second I, maturity or curiosity. Board. Let's see what I can break. Which you see with low skill attackers often called script kiddies. That's funny. So this is that young individual that may not have a whole lot of skill, but a desire to hack. And there's a term for that profile of a hacker. Got it. That's pretty cool. Finally, P reminds you of policy violations and negligence, the non-malicious insider attack that creates serious risks. Yeah. Yes. When you look at each scenario, you usually start by asking which of these motives fits best and then match the description to the threat actor type. Makes sense. So very similar to what you would do in a law enforcement environment. Your profile, figure out their motive, and from there you can kind of determine what the potential next steps may be. Script kiddies, low skill, high noise. So let's script kiddies. At one end of the spectrum are script kiddies. Despite the insulting nickname, you will see this term on exams in the field to describe individuals with limited skills, with limited technical skills, who use tools, scripts, and attack kits they did not create and do not fully understand. Their main motives are usually curiosity, boredom, or the desire to impress friends. They are not building complex campaigns or doing months of research. They are downloading a scanning tool, pointing it at an IP range, and seeing what responds. So we'll define this as individuals with limited technical skills who use tools, scripts, and attack kits they did not fully understand. So just as the name suggests, the low skilled and a low skilled actor or attacker can get the job done, but it's going to primarily use brute force, low skilled methods. Mhm. Because their capability is low, script kiddies depend heavily on automation and obvious, well known vulnerabilities. A technical pattern might be running a mass port scan to find systems with an old, unpatched service, then launching a repackaged exploit that anyone can grab from a public site. They are optimistic They are not out to get your company in particular. They just want to find anyone who is vulnerable. In practice, that means organizations that have neglected patching and basic security hygiene end up being on the easiest targets. So they just want bragging rights to do it, to say they've done it. All right. From an IT support perspective, script kiddie activity often shows up as noisy, generic behavior. You might see a surge of failed login attempts from a random IP address against your VPN or remote desktop gateway. You might notice log entries showing repeated attempts to exploit a very old web server vulnerability that your company already patched years ago. Let's make note of that. It show up as noisy. On the exam, a scenario that mentions low skill, download tools, broad, untarget scanning, or someone just trying out an exploit kit is pointing you towards a script kiddie rather than a professional criminal or a nation state team. Recognizing that tells you something about both the capability and the likely presence of the attacker. They may be persistent in the sense of keep pressing the button, but they are unlikely to adapt if their first tactics fail. I like that. Unlikely to adapt if initial tactics fail. TAC, tactics, TAC. There we go. That is script kiddies. Organized criminals, professional, and profit driven. As soon as you add money to the equation, the picture changes. Organized criminals, fraudsters, whether individual fraudsters or large criminal groups, are primarily motivated by financial gain. They want to steal money directly, obtain data. They can sell, extort payment from victims, or otherwise turn access to systems into profit. That motivation drives their behavior. They prefer targets that hold payment data, personal information, intellectual property, or any asset that can be monetized. This is probably the person that you will encounter the most, the one that is trying to make a profit from this. So let's capture that. Visual stems, groups are primarily motivated by financial gain. That motivation drives their behavior. They prefer targets that help them. Yep. Their capability is generally moderate to high. They may not always be inventing brand new attack techniques, but they are willing to invest in phishing campaigns, rent botnets, buy stolen credentials, and even purchase zero-day exploits if they return justifies the cost. Interesting. Ransomware is a classic expression of this motive. You might see multiple systems suddenly displaying a ransom note claiming that files have been encrypted and offering to restore access in exchange for cryptocurrency. There is no political message, no ideology slogan, just payment instructions and countdown timer. The entire attack chain from phishing email to file encryption to ransom demand is designed around that one financial outcome. For an IT support technician, criminals are one of the most relevant external threat actors. The suspicious mass email scenario illustrates how this can play out. Multiple users report that their point of sale application will not start, and when you investigate, you find a ransom note on the desk demanding Bitcoin. As you put the pieces together, multiple business PCs affected, clear ransom demand, no political or social messaging. The picture lines up with financially motivated cybercrime. Your role is not to negotiate with criminals, but to recognize that this is now a security incident, not just a software glitch. At this point, you follow your incident response procedures, isolate affected machines from the network as directed, preserve logs, and escalate to your security or management team promptly. Criminals also show up in less dramatic ways. You may see a stream of realistic looking phishing emails that mimic your company's bank or a major cloud provider, urging users to verify their account and capturing credentials. You might be asked to investigate unexplained transactions or complaints that customer information seems to have been exposed. In all of these cases, if you recognize that the goal is to extract money or valuable data, you can better appreciate why your organization insists on training users about phishing, enforcing strong password policies, or requiring multi-factor authentication. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you think about the potential security threats and ways that bad actors attempt to gain access to various networks and resources. You want to make sure you have the right mechanisms in place to alleviate that as much as possible. So, looking at it from this perspective, it makes a lot of sense why companies require so much authentication. I'm thinking of a tool at work right now that I have to log into 4 times, even though I'm in the building, I'm on the VPN and the network, but yet it still requires multiple logins, all because of the potential security concern. And you just want to make sure that the person attempting to do or access whatever they are doing is who they are, and equally important from a cybersecurity perspective, they have access to do what it is that they're trying to do. So it makes perfect sense. Hacktivist attacks for a cause. So this one is interesting. You hear about this, see this one a lot on the TV shows. One of my favorite shows is Law and Order SVU, and attacks for a cause. And I've seen several scenarios in the Dick Wolf umbrella where hacktivists were doing or are doing some hacking for a cause, for a political gain, or to get access to some information for a cause, not just for money or for personal gratification. So this one's going to be pretty interesting to read about. Not all attackers care about money. Hacktivists are individuals or groups who use hacking techniques to promote a political, social, or ideology cause. Their motivation is ideology. They may want to see protests. They may want to see protests as organizations' actions expose what they see as wrongdoing or draw attention to a controversial issue. That motive shapes the kinds of targets they choose and the effects they want to create. Public-facing websites, social media accounts, and systems that store embracing internal documents are especially attractive because they can be used to send a message. Groups. hacking techniques to promote political, social, ideological Hacktivist capabilities range widely. Some participants may have skills similar to script kiddies, joining in distributed denial of service DDoS attacks using tools provided by more experienced organizers. Others may be very capable attackers able to break into web applications, exfiltrate internal communications, and publish them. Typical actions include defacing websites, replacing the homepage with political slogan or graphic, flooding a company's site with traffic to knock it offline, or lacking internal emails to embarrass executives. What stands out in these cases is that the payload carries the message. The altered website or leaked data explicitly references a cause, slogan, or protest. So, skill set, skill capability can vary from mirroring the, I'm gonna learn that term, kitties to capable attackers able to break into web applications. Exfiltrate to communication and publish them. Typical actions include defacing websites, replacing the homepage. Okay. If you are a technician responsible for a company's public website, you might be the first to notice that the homepage text and images have changed to a protest message. Or you might receive reports that the site is very slow or unreachable, and the network monitoring reveals a massive volume of inbound traffic from around the world with no clear business reason. In these situations, clues like the content of the defacement or the nature of the target help you distinguish hacktivism from pure financial crime. A DDoS flood against an online banking portal with no messaging attack might be extortion by criminals. A DDoS flood against a controversial political organization site accompanied by social media posts from activities points to hacktivism. Let me read that one more time to make sure I got it. A DDoS flood against an online banking portal with no messaging attached might be extortion by criminals. A DDoS flood against a controversial political organization site, accompanied by social media posts from activists, point to hacktivism. So the difference between the two, hacktivism, you're looking to gain access for some form of political motive or gain or advantage. And with the other, specifically organized crime, your motive is money. And with the kiddos or kiddies, you're just looking to prove a point and see what you could do, which is essentially how I understand it. On the exam, you will often be asked to select between criminals and hacktivists when both could technically cause similar damage. The key difference is motive. If the scenario emphasizes public embarrassment, message spreading, or protests against the victim, organization belief, or actions, hacktivism is usually the best fit, even if money is not mentioned at all. Got it. Nation state, strategic, sophisticated, and patient. No, oh, you know what? I have seen Mr. Robot, man. I've seen season one and season two. And I actually fell off from there, man. A very brilliant guy. I was in the process of moving. I used to stay in Tennessee, Knoxville, when it first came out. And I want to say it was during COVID, or that's when I at least seen it was during COVID, but I enjoyed it, man. I just, for whatever reason, lost touch with it. What about yourself? Oh, nice. Okay. So I need to go ahead and pick it back up. You know what? I might start with season two just to go with a refresher. That's not a bad idea to watch it tonight. Normally, I like to watch something in the process of trying to go to sleep, and this body cam shows on YouTube, man. I just absolutely love them. But I think I will pick back up Mr. Robot. I appreciate the reminder. What made you ask me about it, though? Ah, gotcha. Yeah, that's a great example of it. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I was saying earlier, I never knew that attackers or hackers were profiled like that. I mean, I guess I probably should have realized it, but I see hacktivism a lot in shows like Law and Order SVU and the regular Law and Order FBI. You know, any of those Dick Wolf shows. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them or not. You see them, but I didn't know that they had a specific or a profile name. Now I know that. And I didn't know that there was also the kitties as it references, but someone, you know, that doesn't really have a true motive other than the sense of accomplishment. It's pretty cool though, man. I enjoy learning about it. Yeah, it's been very eye opening seeing how all of these things kind of tie in together. Yeah, you're right. Someone that becomes obsessed with these types of things. You're absolutely right. Nah, it's fun. I could see how it becomes addicting. Trying to find a loophole or a vulnerability or that part just seems very fun and fascinating. I plan on practicing with my own websites and making them stronger security wise and being able to eventually provide a security solution to someone the entire gambit. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It's been pretty cool so far. I do try Hat Me as well too. That's more of the exercise, and so far it's kind of just been tool specific. Some talk about path, but real tool specific, so I don't do it as often. But they got some challenges in there that I might start doing that could be pretty fun to practice on. Yeah, but yeah, Mr. Robot was pretty cool, man. Now that I think about it, he was not a big fan of where he was working, and that was kind of the storyline behind it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I forgot all about that. At the high end, the capabilities are nation state actors. Teams are sponsored or tolerated by governments that operate in support of national interests. Their motivation is typically espionage, strategic advantage, or even sabotage. They may want to steal military secrets, gain access to critical infrastructures, copy advanced research, or weaken a rival country's economic position. Unlike criminals, they are not primarily after a quick profit, and unlike hacktivists, they are usually not looking for political attention. In fact, they often want to remain undetected for as long as possible. Interesting. That sophisticated actor. Yeah, I like it. It's I have the subscription and I started on it and was doing it pretty regularly, but I like it. It's just I was just looking for something that probably was a little more path specific than kind of starting you out broad and then just kind of assessing you and breaking you down. I just preferred a different approach, but I do like it, and I still do have the little subscription with it. I plan on using it, and I see they have challenges too that look to be pretty fun. I'm going to try those out as well. What does your friend think about it? Secrets. Access to critical. Cool. Okay. Well, I feel good about it. Does he work in security or practice or do any type of hacking or anything like that? I didn't want to feel bad about liking it too much. It is a little gameish, if you will, but I like it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I just want to make sure it wasn't a waste of time more than anything. I don't want to do stuff just because it's fun. I like to actually get something out of it. Nation state actors generally have the highest level of capabilities. They can hire skilled developers, invest in long-term research, and sometimes discover or purchase zero-day vulnerabilities, flaws that are not yet publicly known or patched. Their attacks are often described as advanced persistent threats, APTs. Mm, it's another new one. Advanced because of their sophisticated and persistent and persistence because they maintain access over long periods, quietly exfoliating data. Typical targets include government agencies, defense contractors, energy and transportation systems, and large enterprise with valuable intellectual property. However, these actors also go after smaller organizations that act as suppliers or partners, using them as stepping stones into larger protected networks. Makes sense. Inspiring and enthusiast. Okay. Awesome. He taking the self-taught path, or is he going to school or doing anything formal for learning? Just curious. Wondering what additional resources out there. Um, mhm. All right. So let's do. As an entry level technician, you are unlikely to be the one directly fighting a nation state team. Whew, I would hope so. But you may still feel their influence if your company works with government clients, handles sensitive research, or operates critical infrastructure. You will encounter stricter policies about patching, access control, logging, incident reporting. Those policies are not there because anyone expects script kiddies to attack you. They are driven by the possibility of high quality adversaries. You might see security tools flagging suspicious activity that your security operations center investigates in depth, while your job is simply gather the information, preserve evidence, and avoid taking actions that would destroy logs or artifacts. Self-taught learning, mostly self. Nice. Is he looking to get employment or just learn the skill or do some consulting work? For example, if the question describes months of quiet data, exfoliation from a government research lab with no ransom demand and no public leaks, espionage by a nation state is more plausible explanation than anything else. Insider threats from within. The threat from within, the enemy under your own nose. This is probably the most frustrating one and disappointing one because you bring somebody in and don't know that they are secretly going to be working against you. So far, we have focused on outsiders who must cross the security boundary to cause harm. Some of the most dangerous threat actors, though, are people who are already inside the boundaries. Insiders are users with legitimate access to systems, data, employee contractor vendors, or partners who misuse that access either intentionally or accidentally. Contractors, vendors, or partners who misuse that access to miss. Misuse. All right. What makes insiders so significant is not necessarily their technical skill, but the fact that the organization has already granted them trust, user accounts, passwords, physical badges, perhaps even elevated privileges. Insider motivation can vary wildly. Some insiders are malicious, acting out of revenge after a poor performance review or anticipation of leaving for a competitor. Others are financially motivated, stealing customer lists or trade secrets to sell. Many insider related incidents, though, are not truly malicious at all. They result from negligence or policy violations. A user copied sensitive data to an unencrypted USB drive to work from home, or emails confidential reports to a personal account for convenience. From an impact standpoint, careless behavior can be just as harmful as deliberate sabotage, even if the law and HR policies treat them differently. Makes sense. Got to be careful with those things, and whether you intentionally done it or not, I guess will kind of play a factor in how we move forward, but the damage will be done. The departed employee scenario captures a realistic mix of technical and human clues. A user who is scheduled to leave the company soon asks you, as the technician, to temporarily restore access to a restricted folder they no longer need for their current role. At the same time, you notice that the person has been downloading large quantities of data from multiple departments. Technically, they are inside, they have a valid account and can log in. Contextually, the timing and unusual access patterns suggest a motive, perhaps taking data to a new job or planning to cause harm before departure. In that moment, your job is not to accuse them or investigate their motives, but to respect the principle of least privilege, refuse to bypass access controls without proper authorization, documentation, which you have seen, and escalate according to the policy. That's a fantastic scenario. I like the way it broke that down, because that I've actually experienced that in the workplace before, where someone in the process of transitioning to a new role, and this was early on in my professional career, they were transitioning to a new role, and in that process they actually were capturing data to do whatever they want to do in the process of transitioning out. Luckily at the time, and unluckily in one scenario, but luckily in the time, they caught the individual and just basically packaged them or paid them out for the remainder of their employment versus allowing them to work out the 2-week notice, because they were downloading and capturing data. Another scenario is where a team member had access to email up until her very last day, and she actually was a disgruntled team member, and the team was late in removing her access, and she shared some feelings about those that she felt played a part in her no longer being with the company. And it was a moment where we had, as a team, had to act sooner on removing access for those individuals that were no longer employed. Previously, that was a task that kind of waited to the weekend, because in most instances, people wouldn't attempt to do, and at least back then, they wouldn't attempt to do or share or send malicious data. They would just move on with their life and wouldn't worry about, whatever transpired. But in this instance, this young lady was disgruntled, and we didn't remove her access in a timely manner, and she was able to send some information out to the entire local team of the company, and it wasn't very good. So it really caused us to kind of tighten up that process. And as soon as that alert came in or the ticket came in that someone was no longer employed, each department worked in a timely manner. In fact, department heads actually had conversations about potential unemployments or terminations that might have taken place after hours, after the normal IT hours. And in those scenarios, they either had to be scheduled, pre-approved with the working leaders, or you would have to contact the on-call person. Usually there's someone on call for IT, at least at the time, that you would have to contact if you had to terminate someone's access or employment immediately before they came in during normal business hours. So it's just interesting that they called this out and understanding the whys behind what it is that you do, because it does make a huge difference when you have that understanding and you can kind of share the whys behind some of the rigid policy or extra authentication that's required. It's pretty cool. All right, I need to run really quick. Get me a sip of water, run to the restroom, and I will be right back. Hope everyone's doing pretty good. This one is a new one. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Um, let's see. Oh no. There we go. I think I'll do this one. Just something really quick and come right back. We'll finish this on now. Bruh, it was so crazy, man. It was so crazy. Yeah, she sent the email expressing her displeasure, embarrassing people. And from that moment on, and this was at a larger company, but it operated on a smaller scale. From that moment on, anytime there was a termination or access was needed to be removed, that jump was done immediately. And there was always a process in place to make sure that it was cared for within the 30-minute window. And they tried to only do it during certain times to kind of care for resources on the IT side of things. But yeah, it was crazy, man. Crazy. Be right back. All right, all right, all right. Financial motivated, stealing customers, no trade secrets to sell. Because an insider often look normal in the sense that they are using correct usernames and passwords, spotting insider threats depend heavily on context. You might see a user repeatedly trying to open documents unrelated to their job, someone asking you to disable logging because it slows down the system, or recently disciplined employees suddenly copying large number of files to an external drive. In each case, your awareness of insiders as a threat actor category should push you away from casual fixes and toward formal process. Makes a lot of sense. You do not need to know whether the person is driven by revenge, greed, or simple carelessness. You only need to recognize that something is off and that others need to know. Makes all the sense in the world. You need to be concerned with something is off. Something is off and others need to know. Putting the pieces together. When you compare these threat actors side by side, patterns emerge that you can use to interpret scenarios quickly. Script kiddies sit at the low end of sophistication, often acting out of curiosity or immaturity, scanning broadly for any easy opportunity. This is good. Organized criminals are more focused and professional, turning technical access into financial profit through ransom, fraud, or data theft. Hacktivists act for a cause using defacement, leaks, and outages to send a message and attract attention. Nation states pursue strategic goals, often with very advanced tools and long timelines, quietly targeting high value organizations and their patterns. Insiders, meanwhile, work from within, sometimes maliciously and sometimes carelessly, but always with the advantage of legitimate access. Let's capture those. Organize, criminals, focused, professional, technical, check, influence into financial profit, somewhere. Activists act for a cause. Using defacements, makes and apologies to exemption. Pursue strategic goals, often with reference to and timelines. Sometimes legitimate access. It's a nice little summary of the potential actors. I understand that I don't know to either, but I get it. Unless you just specifically after that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. All right. As an IT support professional, you do not have to assign a perfect actor label to every incident. What matters is that you can read the signs: a ransom note, a Bitcoin address, signal financial crime, a political charge message on a defaced web page suggests hacktivism, a quiet long-term breach of government-related systems hint at espionage, a departing employee suddenly copying data looks like an insider issue. Once you start thinking in terms of who benefits, what the attacker seems to want, and how sophisticated the behavior appears, security alerts and odd user requests stop being random annoyances and start fitting into a coherent picture of human-driven threats that your organization policies are designed to manage. knowledge check. All right. I'm going to write these down so we can reference them as study material later. And also just to help me better understand what it is that I am reading. A security log shows a large automated scan from random IP addresses attempting to exploit an old, well-known web server flaw. The tools appear to be publicly available, and there is no sign the attacker is focused on the company. In particular, what threat actor type best fits the scenario? Let me read that again. Shows a large automated scan from random IP addresses. Q1. So this one, the tool appears to be publicly available and there's no sign the attacker is focused on this company in particular. I'm going to go with Kitty. Because it mentioned attempting to exploit an old, well-known web server. The tools are publicly available, and the attacker is not focused on the company. All of that points to a Kitty. An organization discovers that several file servers have been encrypted, and a note on each system demands payment in cryptocurrency to restore access. There's no political slogan or public statement, only payment instructions and a countdown timer. Which threat actor is most likely responsible? So for this one, the note I would capture, file servers encrypted and a note on each system demands payment in cryptocurrency to restore access. For this one, I'm gonna go with a organized criminal. And I probably should go through all of these just to make sure, but it's not a hacktivist because there's no political slogan. It's not a kitty because there's a request of financial gain, and it's not a nation state actor because this kind of seems beneath that individual in a sense. But we're gonna go with this one for this option. A company that provides cloud service to government agencies detects months of quiet data exploration from sensitive research environments. The attackers use a previously well-known vulnerability and left no ransom demand or public defacement. Which type of threat actor best matches these characteristics? Not Kitty, not disgruntled insider, nation state engaged in espionage, and it's not a hacktivist. And that one is government agencies. Intents. Exfiltration. What should I believe what I do? Okay. This one is going to be C. C, nation state. All right, so question 4. A controversial organization's public website is defaced. The new homepage displays a political slogan and manifesto criticizing the organization's beliefs and links to social media accounts promoting a movement. What is the most likely primary motivation behind the attack? The motive? I'm gonna go with B. So for this one, I said I'm gonna go with B. Alright, number 5. A departed employee with a valid credential suddenly starts downloading large volumes of files from multiple departments from that are unrelated to their current role. They also ask the help desk to temporarily restore access to a restricted project folder they no longer need. Which threat actor best supplies? Which threat actor description best supplies? Woo. Departing employee, which is a trigger word. So I'll be looking for some form of an insider. So for this one, it's not an external script kiddie. Nation state actor, no. It is not a hacktivist. but it is an insider potentially acting with malicious intent. Question 6. A junior IT technician notices that a user copied confidential reports to a personal email account to work from home faster in violation of the company policy. The user does not appear to have harmful intent but has exposed sensitive data. How should this user's behavior be classified as a threat? Nation state actor using advanced tools? No. Script kiddie abusing known scripts? Nope. Non malicious insider causing risk through negligence? Organized criminal running a ransom campaign? So this one should be C. But let's capture this as well. IT tech notices user copy confidential reports to a personal email account work from home faster in violation of company policy. What's up, bud?
I was gonna say, good night, man.
Good night, bud. Love you too, man. Nice. Let's do. There we go. So for this one, C, non-malicious insider causing risk. No ill intent, but nevertheless, a violation took place. Malicious insider causing risk through malicious. Q7. Online retailer reports that many customers receive realistically. Phishing emails that mimic the company's payment portal. The stolen data is later sold on underground markets, which primary motive from fire IP model is most evident in the attack. Which primary motive from the fire IP model is the most evident? Immaturity or curiosity? No. Revenge, personal grievance? No. Espionage? It should be D, financial gain. Yeah, I can't see any of this. It's not immaturity or curiosity because you're actually trying to steal the data. It's not that. All right, question 8. A security analyst is trying to quickly categorize a newly observed threat actor. They start by asking, why are they doing this? How capable are they? Are they already inside or outside the organization? Which concept from the chapter are these questions designed to clarify? Legal penalties for the attacker if caught? Nope. Should be A. Let me go with A. Motivation, capability, opportunity. All right. So let's test this out. Let's see how we done. Number 1, C, broad, untargeted scanning using public tools and exploiting well-known flaws. Low sophistication aligns with script kiddie behavior. Yep. Number 2A. Yep. Rationale ransomware with clear payment instructions and no ideological message indicates organized crime focused on financial gain. Number 3 is C. Yep. Long-term stealth espionage uses zero-day and high-value government-related target. Strongly indicate a nation-state actor. Number 4B. Yep. A political charge, defacement, and manifesto reflect ideological motives typical of a hacktivist. Motivation is ideologically protest. Man, I can't talk. uh, yeah, no, I can't. Only you know that. Man, we don't need that. The person has a legitimate access. Number 5 is D. D. The rationale is the person has legitimate access, but is misusing it in a suspicious way near departure, fitting the profile of potentially malicious insider. Number 6C. Yep. The user is an insider violating policy without clear malicious intent, creating risk. through negligence or convenience. Number 7, online realtor reports that many customers receive realistic phishing emails. D, financial gain. The F in fire, financial gain. And then finally, 8 is A. Those questions map directly to identifying the threat actors, motivations, capability, and opportunities access as described in the chapter. Perfect. So that looks to be the conclusion. And the next is attack vectors and access. But look, this was a very good chapter. So for this one, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations. This one was a very interesting chapter. Learned quite a bit in it. And then the next one we'll pick up and go to 2.1. But for now, let's start this. This is a pretty good one. So here's a recap of everything that I've learned in my journey of studying cybersecurity using the compTIA study guide that I purchased off Amazon. Feel free to study along with me or give me feedback on what I have. But chapter 2 started out with threat actors and motivations. The initial chapter gave a title of Threats, Vulnerabilities, and Mitigations, and it talked about threat actors and motivations, starting with what is a threat actor. And it defined it as an actor. It defined it as anyone or a group that intentionally causes or attempt to cause harm to a system, data, or users. And I thought this was pretty fascinating because, yes, I knew there were attackers that existed. And if I thought about it, yes, everyone has different motivations. That's just kind of a thing in life, if you will. But I didn't realize that you would categorize attackers based upon different characteristics. And it kind of talked about it a little bit more in the chapter, but I thought it was very fascinating to see or to realize that that was something that was actually done. I thought that that type of profiling really only took place in certain arenas. I didn't expect it in this one as well too, but it was pretty cool to know. As a cybersecurity professionals, you need to be able to recognize activity that's outside the norm, identify potential indicators of malicious activities, understand the possible threat, and escalate suspicious activity when necessary. So, how to think about possible threat actors. When analyzing a potential threat actor, ask three main questions. Number one, the motivation. Why are they doing it? And motivation basically explains why the attacker is taking this action. What possible motivations, what could be included in the motivation? Financial gain, political, ideology, impact, espionage, threat of sensitive information, revenge, curiosity, bragging rights, sabotage. A threat actor motivation can provide clues about who may be responsible for the attack and kind of give you an idea of what may be taking place. If there were financial data that's been tampered with, compromised, or modified, and there's someone that's looking to leave the company that has been accessing those files without it being a part of their job description or something that they typically do, this could be someone that has a motivation to get access or compromise that data. Number two is capability. How are they capable? How capable are they? Capability describes the threat of the actor's level of skill, resources, tools, and sophistication. Questions to consider. Are they using simply public tools, publicly available tools? Are they using existing attack kits? Can they develop custom malware? Do they have significant financial resources? Can they conduct long-term attacks? Can they adopt when their original attack? Can they adapt when their original attack fails? Capabilities can range from inexperienced attackers using downloaded tools to highly sophisticated tools, nation state operations. So this was a good thing as well to understand the sophistication, the psychology of that particular attacker. If they're not doing anything too complicated, if they aren't using fancy tools or anything that's custom or anything that kind of speaks to someone with a higher level of intelligence, if you will, chances are you can kind of recognize that, hey, this is something standard. This is something simple. All we need to do is this to contain it, to get it deflated or to get it without its wings, if you will, and to be able to control it and eventually eliminate it. So I thought this was pretty cool that this was something else that was identified and captured as well. The next one being opportunity access. Where are they? Opportunity or access considers the attacker's relationship to the organization. Consider, are they outside the organization? Are they already inside? Do they have legitimate credentials? Do they have a physical access? Do they already have access to the sensitive systems or data? Any insider may require different defenses than an external attacker because the insider may already have legitimate access. And this is pretty good to read about because you want to know who this person is, what do they already have access to. Then it kind of gives you a better perspective on what your next steps are. For someone within the company, let's shut down their access. Let's review the things that they've done. Let's make sure that we've controlled them. And then from there, we can kind of review the lessons learned. If they're outside the company, then obviously, you have to take a different approach because they're coming at you from an external perspective. So their resources are going to be a little different. What they have access to is different. And your monitoring or logging systems in place is going to be different as well, too. Then I learned about this cool acronym FIRE IP, remembering remembering threat actor motivations. FIRE IP can help remember common threat actor motivations, and I thought it was a pretty cool acronym. FIRE. FIRE is also a financial acronym of financial independence, retire early. Something that I aspire to do at some point. But the F is financial gain. Pretty straightforward with that. The attacker might steal money, commit fraud, deploy ransom, steal valuable information, steal stolen data or credentials. All of these things are with a motive of financial gain. Next up is ideology, common among hacktivists. The attacker wants to support or promote a political or social ideology or cause. So this is someone that has a very specific motive. And I didn't realize this. And shout out to my friend that mentioned this to me earlier in the stream, that Mr. Robot and some of the shows, their attackers or hackers are profiled as well. And I've noticed that I see a lot of hacktivists with the ideology motive in like Law and Order or FBI or some of my favorite Dick Wolf shows. They have a lot of active motive or activist motives behind the things that they do. The R represents revenge, often associated with malicious insiders, disgruntled employees. I've had experience with that. Employees that are terminated. I can remember a scenario earlier in my professional career where someone was in the process of leaving the company and captured a lot of financial information on the way out the door. It was cool for them and cool for their next role, but it definitely was eye-opening to the company that I worked for, and someone else was in the process of being terminated, and we were late on removing her access to the internal company intranet. And because we were late, she was able to send out some very disparaging information about some folks that work for the company. But after that, I guarantee you access was removed immediately, and that was no longer an issue of anyone that was terminated. There was processes put in place to make sure that once that employee is terminated within 15 to 30 minutes, all of their access is removed. So R is represents revenge. E is for espionage or national interest, commonly associated with nation state actors. Their goal is gathering intelligence, stealing research, obtaining military secrets, gaining strategic advantage, access critical infrastructure. Just as the title suggests, someone that is not looking for lower level access or lower level information. They have a much more sophisticated motive, and they're looking to do some serious damage. That's what the E stands for. The second I stands for immaturity or curiosity, often associated with inexperienced attackers or script kiddies. Brand new term to me, but I thought it was pretty cool to pick up on. A script kiddie. Basically with this, the motivation is simple. I just want to see if I could do it. May not be motivated by, they may be motivated. They may be motivated by curiosity, boredom, recognition, or the accomplishment itself. So someone that not necessarily is looking to gain financial status or get access to someone's information with a malicious intent. They just want to do it just to see if they could do it. So part of me understands it, but not the best way to go about it. And then finally, the P stands for policy violations or negligence, often associated with non-malicious insider. This is where the person isn't necessarily trying to harm the organization, but the actions create security risk. An employee sends confidential documents to their personal email because it's more convenient to access it when working from home. We've all been there. We've all done it. May not have a malicious intent. Nothing may have came of it, but anything could have happened. And it is absolutely a security risk. Then it kind of talked about some of the common threat actors or the common types of threat actors. Script kiddies. This individual is low skill, but make a lot of noise, if you will. The examples that it talked about the motivations and who this profile individual is. Script kiddie is an individual with limited technical skills, but uses tools, scripts, exploits, and attack kits they did not create and may not fully understand. No real motivation other than curiosity and just want to do it just to do it. Their capability is generally low. They're using open source tools that don't have any sophistication and very limited capabilities. So chances are you'll catch them rather easily, but you got to know they're there. You got to be prepared for them. And some common clues to kind of pick up on: large number of failed login attempts. They're trying some brute force method. Scanning random IP addresses, attempts to exploit. Scanning from random IP addresses, attempts to exploit old well-known vulnerabilities. Nothing, like I said, of real sophistication, just things that they'll do to annoy you to get access to your information. The next one is organized criminals, professional and profit-driven. Organized criminals include individual fraudsters and larger criminal organizations whose primary motivation is financial gain. Their objective is to turn access to systems, account, or information into money. Common objections is ransomware, financial fraud, data theft, credential theft, extortion, selling stolen information. Their capability, their skill set is moderate to high. They don't necessarily need to invent new attack techniques. Instead, they may invest in phishing campaigns, botnets, stolen credentials, malware, initial access exploits. If the potential financial return is high enough, sophisticated criminals organizations may invest significant resources into an attack. So just kind of keep a lookout for this individual. Their motive is money. They're the ones that's going to get access to your data, sell it on the dark web or to the highest bidder. So you definitely want to make sure you're prepared for that individual, because if you aren't, there will be a financial impact to the bottom line of the company. Hacktivists, attacks for a cause. Hacktivists are individuals or groups that use hacking techniques to promote a political, social, or ideological cause. The motivation: they may want to protest an organization access, expose perceived wrongdoing, promote a political position, draw attention to an issue, damage the reputation of the organization. Common attacks are website defacement, data lease, service disruption, publishing stolen information, publishing stolen internal communication. The capability can vary significantly, meaning that the skill set could or may not be there. Some hacktivists may have skills similar to script kiddies, while others may be capable of compromising web applications, exfiltrating information, accessing internal systems, publishing stolen information. The key distinction with this is the major difference between hacktivists and organized criminals is motivation. Organized criminals want money. Hacktivists want cause, ideology. And I thought this was pretty interesting because as I read through this and read through some of the notes, yes, this is annoying, and yes, it's probably not favorable in most instances. However, in some cases, it has served a purpose where you have seen data leaked or secrets leaked that the public should be aware of, but they're internal and in some respects may be proprietary, but you wouldn't have found out if someone didn't blow a whistle. So I get it on one side of the fence, but I also understand that someone took the chance, took the risk for the greater good, if you will. And without those individuals in place, who knows what type of information would be kept secret that should be shared with others. Next one is nation state actors. These individuals are strategic, sophisticated, and patient. A nation state actors are teams sponsored, supported, or tolerated by governments that operate in support of national interests. The motivation, common objective include espionage, strategic advantage, sabotage, military intelligence, economic advantage, step of advanced research, access to critical infrastructure. The capability of a nation state actor generally have some of the highest level of capability and resource. They may have advanced technical expertise, custom tools, malware, significant funding, long-term objectives, the ability to remain hidden for an extended period of time. The attacks associated with highly sophisticated and persistent threat actors are commonly described as advanced persistent threats, APTs. A major clue can be patience. Instead of immediately causing visible damage, an attacker may remain inside an environment for months while quietly gathering or exfoliating information. So with this one, they're looking to do significant damage, and they're not targeting the little man on the pole, if you will. They're looking to go after larger scale organizations where they can have a true impact and true influence. So this one you may not see a whole lot of, but as an entry level IT professional, it kind of talked about you not being the one solving the issue or having to fix the issue, but more so you being the person that will alert the team or leadership that the issue is taking place and be the one that may do the ground level foundation for what's next to identify and solve the threat. Insiders are threats from within, pretty straightforward. Insiders are people with legitimate access to the organization's systems or data who misuse that access either intentionally or accidentally. Examples include employees, contractors, business vendors, business partners. The major advantage an insider has is legitimate access. Pretty straightforward with this. Someone that is already inside the company with a username and password, access, badges, etc. You already kind of know the network, already know where to go, what to look for, but they're the ones that have ill intent and intend to do some form of harm. And in some respects, they kind of talked about how this individual is easy to identify, but the downside to it is they already are inside. They already have the appropriate access. So in some respects, they can be a little hard or tricky to catch. The big thing to do from the junior level IT professional is to identify and alert the appropriate individuals. And with this person, the key things you want to identify with the certification exam is that it's someone on the inside with access. That's how you kind of know that it is in the umbrella of an insider, and it just kind of distinguish the motivation or the patterns from there. Next one is malicious insider. A malicious insider intentionally abuses their access, motivations, revenge, financial gains, espionage, leaving for a competitor, personal grievance. Warning sign example: a deporting employee suddenly begins downloading large quantities of files from departments unrelated to the normal response. I mean, it's so crazy. I literally went through this exact same thing. I remember it happening so many years ago because it was a pivotal moment early on in my leadership journey. And I was a part of that initial response and next steps for change management. So I'll never forget that. Credentials themselves may be legitimate. The behavior is abnormal. A non-malicious insider, not every insider threat is intentionally malicious. Employees can create significant security risks through negligence, convenience, policy violation, human error, poor security practices. Example: an employee emails credential reports to their personal email account because they want to work from home. Their intention may not be malicious, but the behavior still creates a security risk. Pretty straightforward with that. I mentioned earlier that we've all done it. Not proud of it, but it does happen. And although it is convenient, and in some respects, yes, we prefer to go that route, it does create a security risk and should be avoided at all costs. Putting the threat actors together, then and this from there just kind of summarize all of the threat actors. I'm not going to go through each of them, but script kiddies, organized criminals, hacktivists, nation state actors, malicious insiders, non-malicious insiders. And then they had a quick mental model when analyzing the incident. The why is the motivation, how good is the capability, where they are is the opportunity to access. Then use the evidence to determine the most likely type of threat actor. Just giving examples of what to look for, how to identify it, and some things that you want to identify quickly and ask so you can get a better understanding of what's going on and what the next steps are. And then finally, it had the knowledge check, confirmation of learning, scenario, large scale from a random IP address, script kiddie. The attack is noisy, widespread, and uses known vulnerabilities. Number two, the file servers are encrypted and note demand cryptocurrency to restore access. Organized criminal, they have a financial motive, ransom being combined. So that was kind of straightforward. Question three, Organization service to the government agency. We know that's going to be nation state. When the government agency is involved, they're looking to really make a impact at a large scale with a very significant resource. Question 4, organization public website is the face with a political slogan. Ideology protests like hacktivists. The attack is being used to promote political or ideological message. Question 5, a departing employee with valid credentials suddenly downloads large volumes of files from departments unrelated to the job. That's a malicious insider. An employee with legitimate access is the why or the key identifier from a question of that sort. Question 6, an employee copies confidential reports to a personal email account so they can work from home. That's a non-malicious insider. The intention, they want to work, they want to get stuff done more efficiently. I get it. Just got to go about it the right way with the appropriate approvals. Question 7, customers receive realistic phishing emails mimicking an online realtor's payment portal and are tricked into entering credit card information. Financial gain, likely organized criminal. They're attempting to get a financial gain. So that's the key factor with that one. And then finally, question 8, and analysts ask, why are they doing this? How capable are they? This is in the framework of identifying the threat actor. It just kind of asked, how do you do that? So that was basically the things that I learned today, going through the study guide for the compTIA certifications. I'm in chapter 2, which is threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations. I'm going to continue on with this. Look to pick back up with this tomorrow, with 2.2. But until then, I will see you in the next one.